And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. A lot of people argue about whether we're inherently good or bad. And both people are right. We live in a reality, in a world, a simulation, I guess you could use that word, an experience where we get to contend with both good and evil. And I believe that man was designed to experience passions, emotions, things that drive us to do good. Without certain kind of passions and desires and mental, emotional, and bodily desires, we would never be inspired or motivated to go conquer or construct good things or start families or really build meaningful lives. And so our passions are God-given. But because we live in a world of good and evil, those are often corrupted. Scriptures talk a lot about Babylon, and it's kind of this it's in opposition to Zion, which is the city of God, the pure in heart. Babylon is the great kingdom of the world, and in Scriptures it talks frequently about how the fall of Babylon is great. And thinking about the fact that I live in today's world, in 2026, with an exponentially increasing access to information, to connection, to technology, to AI, to simulation, that the acceleration of people either doing good or doing evil is growing at a rate that we've never seen. I think that one of the greatest, most destructive, most widely partaken of plagues in our world is pornography. And I'm not just talking about online pornography that people can look up on a search engine in an incognito window and watch. I'm talking about any kind of content that depicts the body in a lustful way. Any kind of content that inspires someone to transgress against God's intended purpose for those kinds of passions, which, in my belief, which I believe is true, is to inspire. Those passions are meant to inspire us to love purely, to give affection, to have kids, to start families, to raise righteous families, to express love in a bound covenant marriage where you have committed your soul to someone out of love. And yet what we have is a more widespread, more cancerous, counterfeit version of that love through the form of pornography. And I don't know the statistic, but I've read at times that it's above 90% of men specifically are users of this pornography, and they do it in private, they do it in secret. It's responsible for destroying families. It's responsible for corrupting the minds of men. It's responsible for completely disrupting and frustrating God's purpose, which is that we come to earth, we have experiences, and we literally bring other souls to earth. When we have kids, that's a soul. God's purpose is for us to come here, have experience, and choose good over evil. to eventually return to him. And of course, Satan would strive to corrupt that. And in an age of digitization, social media, infinite access to data, and infinite access to content and media, one of the most profitable, lucrative, and destructive industries would be pornography, which twists and corrupts the true and pure and holy, ordained reason for why God gave us that ability to have sex, to express sexual desire and love in a righteous way. For me personally in my life, when I was younger, impressionable, before I ever found God, I'm talking about in like high school, I was exposed to this and I didn't know how to overcome it. All the time I was, like most men when they first encounter it, without any kind of, no one taught me it was bad. No one taught me the importance of the God-given gift of sexual ability. And so over time, as I recognized how it would corrupt me even after the moment of using it, I charted a course to never use it again. Gratefully, it's been several years since I've ever used it or come across it, which I'm grateful for, but you can't say the same for almost all men. And I frequently talk to friends of mine that, women that are my age that are dating, and this is frequently something that they can recognize in another guy, that they may actually be attracted to and respect and honor this guy that they've gone on dates with, and yet when he eventually admits to this problem to them and shares with them that he has this addiction, it completely destroys the image they created in their minds of this guy. Which rightfully so. No one should ever have to deal with that kind of corruption in a relationship, especially in marriage. I've seen too many marriages fall apart because of this. The most important thing to do if you are a man and you are struggling with pornography, number one, is to control the inputs of your life. This means all of your media. This means everything you see on your phone, on your computer. Do not consume things that inspire you to transgress, that twist the holy, sacred nature of that God-given gift that you have and that every other person has that is of age. Number two, control your thoughts. When you have a thought, and we all do you give it power? Do you feed it? Do you allow it to spiral into action? Do you continue to ruminate on it? Or when you have the thought, do you recognize it and immediately replace it with something virtuous? And the iteration of those two habits, controlling the inputs, that's layer one, and your thoughts, that's layer two, which is more difficult. You master those two, and over time, you'll live a life like the ones that me and my close friends live, where we don't experience any of that media. We don't partake of that bitter cup. We don't participate in that. But above all, above strategy, above methods, you have to have a pure desire. You have to recognize, I'm talking specifically to the men here, you have to completely recognize, appreciate, honor, and revere how sacred and how much of a gift the women in your life are. That they are all precious, chosen daughters of God. And that the fantasies or corruption that the world tries to feed into your mind through pornography and through like inappropriate content like that, the less you'll be able to recognize that divine worth in women. So have the pure desire. Develop within yourself the pure desire to serve them and honor them. And I promise as you do that and you're disciplined, you don't have to be a partaker of that bitter cup anymore. You can be free from it. I've done it for several years. And it's our duty, especially disciples of Jesus Christ, to commit to that, to become that. Because the world's going to keep going in a bad direction. And we've got to make sure that we are doing our best to uphold a high standard, God's standard, that's good, that's pure,